So folks, you're very welcome back to another episode of Behind the Walls podcast with myself, Pete the Builder, and my good friend
Ferg.
Ferg is very talkative.
Yeah.
So, as always, we said that we were going to get guests on board that were willing to give us their insight into retrofit, into the construction industry, and we wanted honesty and we wanted passion. So no better man for honesty and passion than our guest today, Mr. Ciarán Mulqueen, otherwise known as Crazy House Prices. Ciarán, how are you?
Very good, lads. Thanks for having me on.
Don't bother at all. So I'm sure loads of people know who Ciarán is. I'm going to give you, he's got over 100,000 followers on Instagram alone. I'm sure loads of other platforms. He's an author. He has his own podcast, and he has a passion for house prices and everything houses, I suppose. So a perfect guest. Not only that, he has also done a retrofit of his own home. So, Ciarán, what is it like in construction at the moment? Give us a little synopsis of where we are at the moment.
Well, I thought in your intro there you're going to say he loves giving out. But yeah, that's probably a good point to start on with construction at the moment. I know when we did our retrofit now, it was a few years ago, so prices were not as bad back then as they are now, but you know better in terms of where prices are at now. But that's what I'm seeing a lot on my page is that's the main discussion point now. When people have eventually got their house and they're moving on into the next life phase is looking to insulate it, retrofit it, all that kind of stuff. So because I've done all that, then I'm kind of they're getting in touch with me then about
their sounding board.
Yeah, just figuring out what was worth it, what wasn't worth it, and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, then let's discuss that. So. You bought your house in Dublin city centre, is that correct?
Yeah, Dublin city centre, 102 years old, 100 years old now, yeah, 1922. Nearly, yeah. Yeah. It's in better shape, but but it's, it was the first, it's in the tenders there, so it's the first kind of tenant purchase scheme. So when they built houses back then, you know, there was no cost spared, granite, fireplaces, granite windowsills, all that kind of stuff. So they're built well, but is
it red brick?
It's red brick, yeah. Well, half of it is, and then
so basement is stone.
Yeah, exactly.
Above ground level is brick.
No, Ed, I wish I have a basement. No, it's just a normal red brick on the bottom.
Okay.
On the ground floor, and then pebble dash above. So
okay.
Very typical kind of same houses as Crumlin and Marino. Yeah. Those type of houses. So your standard kind of 3 beds. 2 bedrooms and a box room upstairs.
So when you bought the house, what BR rating did it have?
I think it was the lowest. It was a G. I think it was either an F or a G. It was a G, but I think they did one thing. They got the cavity walls pumped, so they done that, but it wasn't reflected in the report. I don't think. But that was all they done. Yeah, and single glazed windows. Other ones that if they smashed it, take your neck off. Yeah. So aluminium things. So yeah, it needed the works. Yeah.
Okay. And then I suppose yourself and your partner sat down and you probably made this decision before you bought the house. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Because you didn't live in it. When you bought it, you retrofitted and then moved in. Is that correct?
Yeah. And I know sometimes the advice would be to live in it and see where the light's coming in and blah blah blah. But we knew we weren't going to be extending it. We didn't have the room or the money to extend it, so we just wanted to work with what was there.
Yeah.
And that was the plan all along. Yeah, was to buy it, put some money into doing it up, and then move in because we were having a child around the same time. So, and we were luckily able to live in my wife's parents' house. So we were able to stay there while the work was being done, not as quickly as we would like, which I think most people would be on that. But we did okay, and I think it took about. I think we spent about 7-8 months overall doing everything, getting it from gutting it back to bricks. Basically, the only thing that's not changed is the roof.
So just you had a child, newborn child.
Yeah.
You moved house with a retrofit.
Yeah.
You had your podcast going. You had a book out.
2 jobs. Yeah.
2 jobs.
Yeah.
What else? What do you do with your spare time? Like?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, play golf. I wish. There is no spare time. This is.
Well, fair play to you.
Well, look, it's a good place to be in. Isn't
it just shows you priorities, isn't it? Like, I mean, you were obviously newborn child, but you said yourself, you want to get the house ready for when the child is growing. And that type of thing.
We were very lucky that we were able to live in my mother and father-in-law's house. Like, if we didn't have that. Yeah. I don't know what we would have done, but that was our plan all along. Try and get something, because at the time we were in that position where it was we were thinking, well, do we wait? Do we wait and try to see do prices come down? The same question I get asked every single day, and I was like, absolutely not. The prices aren't going down. So just get in. We'll get what we can. We were really keen on the area. Houses don't come up very often in them, so the chance came about. So we were like, right, we'll do it, and we'll do the retrofit and that was got a credit union loan, all that kind of stuff. So we had to get the loan out to get the work done. And then because we were able to live then in their house, we weren't paying rent, so we could save and pay off bits here and there. So,
and that was it 2022? Was that right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it was September 2022. You were one of the early adapters on the one-stop shop scheme.
We were, because I remember Primetime came and did a thing with us. So we got Ferg on the telly.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was. I just remember looking back. We were only looking at pictures yesterday. We're trying to get some pictures for Creche or something. They were looking for something. My wife was going through her photos, and there was pictures of the shell of the house, and I've pictures of me changing nappies and all that on plasterboard. So Brilliant. It was serious PTSD after it, but it's always worth it. And that's what I always say to people, it's always worth it in the end. This whole thing of new build versus an old build and retrofitting, I'm very much on the side of get the older house with the character and retrofit it if you can afford it. I know there's very many benefits to the new builds. It's kind of the work is already done for you and all that. We like the area, the community. You're kind of already going into a community that's developed. There's transport links, all that stuff. So the plan was to always get something older and do it up. Yeah,
it's funny because I would be very much of the same opinion. The thing, and like I built my own house from scratch, so I've been, well, it's not new anymore. It's 20 years old now. But at the time, what I loved about it was that I could put my own signature on the house in terms of, and I'm sure you could do the same thing to a certain degree as well, where, you're choosing your own bathroom suite, you're, deciding your own kitchen. Whereas if you buy a new build off, like in a housing estate, you don't get those options. A lot of the time you're just literally buying what's there and that's it. So Ferg mentioned it there, you were on the early stages of the one-stop shop scheme. So talk us through how was that process? Now it's obviously evolved a bit since then, but this was 3 years ago nearly now. So what was it like back then, and how did you find the process?
To be honest, it was Fergal kind of, not just saying that, but Fergal kind of took the reins and sorted all the grants.
My man.
Yeah, kind of went through with all the trades and all of that. So that side of it was great. I didn't do any grant paperwork. Should I have? I don't know. I don't think I did.
All Ciarán did was pay for
spec sheets. Just
I mean, that's
transferred the money.
I think that's the whole idea behind the one-stop shop, is that you aren't the one chasing when the plumber is going to arrive, and there's a bit of freedom in that for the homeowner. But just something you were talking about earlier, Ciarán, is I know you moved out, but it's kind of a bugbear of mine where people say that you have to move out to complete a retrofit. You moved out because you gutted the house, in terms of like there was no choice. You were doing the.
Oh, we went back to bricks. We had to. Yeah. It needed to be rewired anyway. It needed to be replumbed. So it was literally back to the bare bricks.
So it's kind of not the case with like 90% of the home energy upgrades that are completed. People actually stay in situ, because they're not digging up floors, or it's not as invasive as your one was, because you actually went back to the skeleton of the house. But even on talking about new build and retrofitting a previously owned house there, you wouldn't get a new build house in the area you're in. It's a fantastic location.
Oh no, like there are none. There's no such thing. Yeah. The only new builds are apartments, and they're for rent. So it's there's no space to build anything new around there. So it was our only option other than moving outside. So that was and I just like the idea of fixing up what's already there. And I think there's an opportunity for that everywhere, with all the empty houses around the place. I think
bringing
there's
it back
such
to
an
life.
Opportunity for that. It's so much better for the environment to fix and retrofit what's currently there, rather than building new things. But I know, look, we need both, but a lot of the empty houses around the place, and just because I'm off Cork Street, I see it everywhere. And now look, it's been developed a lot over the last few years, but there's still so much dereliction there. Like, that stuff is already connected to water. It's already connected to electricity. It's it's a no-brainer, I think, to go and kind of do up all the older
Well,
stock.
I think the key word, and you said it earlier, is character. You walk into a house, you know, of the age of your house, and you can feel it, like, straight away. You can feel the character. You can nearly see the stories of you know, previous people living there, and then obviously you've put your more modern twist on it and made it your own. So, like, I love that as well, and I really, like, we do a lot of conservation work, and I get a great buzz out of basically bringing a house up to date, but doing it in a sensitive way, so that it's not, you know, pulling the building apart. You're doing it kind of, you know, in a way that is kind of done in collaboration with the building, if you want, you know.
Yeah.
And then the end results can be absolutely beautiful aesthetically, but then obviously you've got, if you're doing a retrofit, you're also getting the you know, the energy efficient bonus. So let's move on to that. So just your honest opinion, and I know you're a man who likes to give your honest opinion. He's behaving himself very well. This is unbelievable, yeah. Well, don't worry, it's coming, folks. It's coming. But like, how what's it like living in, what is your BR rating now?
A3.
A3, which is fair play to you. On a retrofit, that's excellent of that age of a house.
I think the solar panels tipped it over from the B to the A. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
So
loves
what's it
these
like?
PV panels.
Yeah. What's it like to live in a house, an A3 rating, in Cork Street in the middle of Dublin City?
In the winter, it's lovely.
Yeah.
I just remember going, do you know when you come home as a kid into your parents' house and the radiators are on and you're kind of hit with that kind of wall of heat when you walk in, which is nice in itself. It's really different to that. You're not walking into being hit in the face during the winter with a big wall of heat. The only way I can explain it is it's just like, it's not like a dry heat, but it's just more comfortable, and it's everywhere is the same temperature.
Yeah.
So you're not kind of going upstairs and one room's freezing because the radiator is being turned off because no one's in there. Yeah. It's kind of, everything is just all the one temperature. Now it's a bit warmer upstairs. Now during the heat waves and the odd few days of the year where a bit like today when it's very warm, it's roasting.
Yeah.
It is roasting, but it's not too warm. Like, we've a couple of fans and just keep them running. And it's up downstairs is fine. It's just upstairs because we even insulated in between the floors, more for noise than anything. And then obviously the attic is insulated and all that. So as the heat goes up, it's pretty warm upstairs, but it's a very small house. It's 90 square meters. So you can kind of create a draft. You just throw the windows open and then the wind is kind of whipping through the house then. And just prop the doors open. And we do that in the evenings just to air out the rooms before the kids go to bed. They go to bed around 7 and wake up about 5. But it's just good to get just that little bit of fresh air in there. But it's really comfortable to live in. There's no like having to remember to turn the heating on or anything. It's just really different. Everything is set and forget. So it's all set. You just forget it.
I like it.
And you just I use that for me fancy football team as well. But it's you just set the thing is all done. It's, I don't know, it's a bit of a, I'm often on to, because if the kids like press the button or whatever, so I'm often on to the lads in that installed the heat pump, just being like, what setting should this be on again? He's like, just set it on now, press the lock button. But just kind of leave it on that, and then everything is ready. Having hot water all the time is phenomenal.
Yeah, I find as well, like, that's the difference. That's the major difference that people are getting. It's the even temperature. You described it very well there. So the old school, I suppose I like to break things down into caveman, as I call it, in my brain, because that's the only way I can describe it. Radiators radiate heat, which basically means the heat hits you with a wall of heat, exactly like what you were describing as. But the more modern, like the heat pumps and the more modern ways of heating, they dissipate the heat in more even ways. And then obviously if the house is properly insulated, the heat retention is much better than what we used to have way back in the day. Yeah. And that creates such a more comfortable environment. And then you just said it, throw in 24-hour hot water. Like, it's a game changer, isn't it?
With younger kids, the two benefits I've found that I kind of didn't really predict, but the constant hot water, so that if there's an accident and you need to hose them down in the bath, which happened the other day, there's always hot water there. You're not thinking, well, we have to leave them in there. We have to leave them in that state for 20 minutes until the immersion kicks in. Okay. So there's that, and then there's also the fact that the radiators don't get piping hot. Because if we go over to my sister's gorgeous old house, really old Victorian house, and the radiators are working so well, but so hot. So if the kids are over there in the winter and they touch them, like they're so hot they burn your fingers.
Yes.
We don't have to worry about that. There's they can play on the radiators and it's not going to burn them.
Yeah.
Which kind of when we got them installed, I was like, what? So they're only going to be,
it's hard to get your head around that.
degrees.
Yeah.
Like,
Lukewarm.
Lukewarm. How's it going to heat the house up? But it does, and it's magic. That's how I describe how the
magic
heat pump
box.
works.
Yeah.
It's just like magic. The air comes in, it works. It's a little bit of magic, and it makes everything else warm. So I guess it's like a fridge in reverse. Yeah. So it's they're the two kind of main things with younger kids that I've found being the most beneficial. That kind of safety aspect of not being burnt by the radiators and the constant hot water is really good.
You brought me back to the 80s there. You weren't around in the 80s, I'd say. But
I was born then, but yeah.
There you go.
But
I remember coming in from school and you'd stand up against the radiator with your hands and it'd be roasting.
Yeah.
Now I have a heat pump myself and you'd be wasting your time standing up against it because it's lukewarm. And it's a piece of feedback we get back from homeowners all the time that I know you use the word magic, but it is that kind of, how is the house comfortably warm when the rads are barely on, is what they would say, you know.
Yeah, and I guess it's the insulation and keeping the heat in. And obviously, if people are going further along, our house is so small, so we didn't need like a heat recovery system or anything like that. But if you've a bigger house and you've got that kind of stuff, I can imagine it's even better again. But
I remember the rads, your radiators were always under a window. That's the way houses were designed, and you'd always have the condensation running down to single glazing. Yeah. All that is gone, you know, and it's a different way of living, I suppose.
Now, I will say we do still get condensation. I think it's more down to our blinds because we got electric blinds and then there's the blackout blinds. I don't know whether it's trapping the heat in behind, but it's a small price to pay. I'll just get the window vac in the morning. Small price to pay, but just that it's so warm. It's our breath and you know, and if like. It could be a baby in the room, or is it the cat's in the room? You know, every little bit of breath then is getting trapped on that window.
You usually find with condensation that there's some sort of a ventilation issue. So there's the point. I'm actually glad you brought it up because the next point I was going to make. When you're getting a retrofit done to a house that's many years, 103 years old, yeah. Like you have to be very careful how you do that. And I don't mean to speak bad of other tradespeople, but sometimes people will just go in and they'll throw any product in to any house because it's worked on the previous house. When it comes to older houses and retrofit like that, you have to be very careful that you use materials that are compatible with the house and that won't cause problems with the house, you know. So I think it's something, and that's why using a one-stop shop, exactly like what you said earlier, you'd know paperwork issues, but you also didn't have to worry about, you know, those technical details as well because you had an expert on board to do it. And I think that's massively important. And I always say this, I am not employed by Envirobeat. I am an independent contractor, but I see this all the time where people would maybe ask me to go back to look at work that had been done by somebody. And you walk into the home and you can actually see that they've used like expensive materials, but the wrong materials. And I really think that that's important. And I think that message needs to get out there. And again, if people have any concerns about that, that's what a one-stop shop will help them do as well, because they're removing that fear and removing the potential for using the wrong materials.
Yeah, and I remember when Ferg showed me the vents. Well, he said, we'll get these vents in, but then the lad came to put the vents in. I was like, what is that? It looks like a modem up on the wall. And, you know, in a small house, in small rooms at the start, I was like, that's, you know, it's pretty big. But now we don't even notice them, to be honest.
I'm glad you said that. I always get that, where people go, and because again, the electrical regulations have massively increased as well now. So pretty much you have to have a heat or a smoke alarm in an awful lot of rooms, which you didn't previously. Yeah. So people aren't used to it. So whenever they walk into the house for the first time, they go, oh, what's that? And the same with the vent, they're like, what's that? Literally a month into the house and you don't even notice them. And I try and say that to people, but they never listen to me. But I'm glad you said it.
Yeah, it's just good because our rooms are so small. You know, they did stand. Now, no one else ever mentioned them when they come in. It's only me because we're used to looking at like those old school kind of flat little things on the wall over the vent that you slide open and close yourself. So it got, the only way I can describe it, looks like a little modem on the wall, but that's it. And then, as you said, the smoke alarms, all that kind of stuff. My electrician did all that. So and I'm into all the tech stuff, so I wanted to get the house as smart as possible. So
very good.
Like even like that, I got the benefit of doing everything at the one time. You can kind of plan it out. So I got the electrician to put access points all around the place so that we don't like, there is no, speaking of modems, I don't have my modems up in the attic, you can't see it. And it's going to access points around the place. If you want to plug in, they're basically the TVs are plugged in. So everything is wireless. There's no wires anywhere, which is great.
Yeah.
And I put an access point on the ceiling beside the smoke alarm kind of thing, so it kind of fits in well. So the only wires around anywhere are just phone chargers and charger for the bike and things like that. So everything is wireless. It's great. Yeah,
and again, when it comes to the tech, like ventilation has become so technological as well. So back in the day, it was the old hit and miss vents. If you had even that, the amount of houses that I go to, and there is like a woolly jumper or something stuffed into the vent as well, you know. But basically, there's so many different aspects to ventilation now. You can have central ventilation systems. You can have full HVAC systems in domestic homes, which in Ireland was unheard of, you know. I think there's a sweet spot somewhere in the middle. Like, I'd call it the octopus that some people put into the house, where they put these massive fans into their houses, and then there's like ducting going everywhere, you know. And I really do think that it's worth getting advice on that in your home, because I do feel that sometimes too much money and effort can be put into that when there's simpler solutions, you know. Now there's moisture controlled ventilation now. There's anti-draft vents. There's loads of different kind of vents out there that are mainstream now, which used to be very difficult to get. So I always advise people, if you're doing a retrofit or any type of work in your home, consider your ventilation. Now, let's get to the juicy bit with Ciarán. So,
ventilation's not juicy enough now.
No, that's
You just bypassed over that one there. Yeah.
That's the thing that keeps me up at night. But I think let's be honest, house prices is your passion.
Yeah.
And you're not quiet about it online. You're very proactive, and I actually really enjoy your stuff, because you pull no punches and you go straight to the jugular if I don't know, a new regulation has come out, or if, you know, things change and with different government regulations and stuff like that. I think it's great. I always go to your page to see what's Ciarán going to say about this, you know. So what's your thoughts on an upgrade? How much value does it actually give to your house? And like, just give us your honest opinion here. I know you will, but like, let's say you're considering buying a house, and you're someone like, let's say myself and my partner 20 years ago, before I built a house, we were going, right, will we buy a house? And then you have that moment where you go, oh, well, if we buy this house, it's cheaper, and we can, you know, I'm in construction, so we could probably do it up. Or do you have to say to yourself, buy the house and immediately do the retrofit like what you did? Like, what's your advice to people on that?
I think it very much depends on people's budget and if they're currently renting. So everyone's scenario is a bit different. It's the way prices are going, they're only going up and up.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think anything I say is ever controversial. I'm pushing an open door, you know. It's everybody's in agreement that it's outrageous what people are having to spend, but people are so desperate and there's no other options. If your option is to rent or buy an old fixer-upper or buy something anywhere, like, people are choosing to buy, and I think rightly so, because the rent is so outrageous. And people will see that when they're on my page. I kind of post a little bit about house prices and a little bit about rents as well, and I try and mix it up with some helpful stuff along the way, but it's people don't have a choice. So I think people are paying more attention to the BEO rating of a house, because they know,
they understand it now.
They understand it now. I think there's been a lot of education pieces done on it, and the SCAI website I think is fantastic. It's really helpful resources on there as well. So people are taking it into account. Now, that doesn't mean that if there's an old G-rated house, you'll get it for a song now. Those days are gone. People are, I don't know how, but people are coming up with the money to be able to spend $500,000 on a shell and then another $500,000 doing it up.
Yeah.
I don't know how, whether or not it'll ever be worth that. If it's worth it to them and they plan on staying there for the next 15, 20 years, then probably will be.
Yeah.
It's just totally dictated by people's own circumstances, and if they have the skills to do a few bits themselves, like yourself. Most people don't. So with the way prices are and the price of getting work done is, I don't think it's, like most things in Ireland, they go up. They never come back down unless there's some sort of global recession, which hopefully doesn't happen. So I think people are taking into account the BEO rating, and if something is a higher energy rating, it's charging a premium for it. But if they're getting something that's like we did, that was F or G rated, I think, able to price it in now, right, well, we're going to need another 200 grand here to get it up to an A rating, if that's what they want, if they want to get it up to that. Or people are maybe buying just to try and get out of that rental trap and just buying something and then planning on staying in it for a few years where the way it is and just do it up room by room. So it really does depend on people's own individual situations, where they're at, if they have the money and what their plan is, and starting a family and all that kind of stuff. So there's so many balls in the air when it comes to it.
I think it's a very good point that even go back 5-6 years, the BER, the rating wasn't a consideration. It was always location. Now, I don't think location will ever be trumped as the number one reason, but the rating is now up there in terms of a consideration on purchasing properties. And again, if you're talking about buying a G or F or E rated house, that means you know that you have to put in a certain amount of money into that house. So it's another consideration of, can we move forward with this house? I mean, I know, and it's often on your page, that people are to their limits just to purchase houses, talk about go on and retrofit them after that. So I don't know, do you get any traction from your followers about the new loan scheme that's out, or does anyone, there doesn't seem to be a lot of talk in the media about it, only that all I ever hear is that it's not working.
No, I haven't really got any stories in about it. I was kind of hopeful that it would be good because it was like a low interest loan. And to be honest, I think there should be, look, we'll probably push prices up even more, but I think there should be a 0% loan option, or at least a very, very low, like kind of 1.5% option to get green loans for retrofitting that are state funded, so that you're not going to a bank, you're not going to the post office or whatever, that there should be like a bank of money there that people can borrow from. Because if we're trying to hit targets, we're trying to hit emissions targets, older houses that are there, it's far better for the environment to do them up than to build new ones. So, and we can't build new ones. We don't have the staff. We don't even have the water capacity. We can't get the water connections done. We can't get the electricity. We've only got capacity there to 20,000-30,000 homes a year, even though we need about 100,000 homes. Yeah. So we need to start looking at the stuff that's already there. And I think there should be a low interest option there for doing it up if you're an owner occupier and you're planning on it being like an owner occupied home, and give people that option to get low or 0% loans to do these things. Now, getting the tradespeople and there are more one-stop shops now than when we did it, and there are other options. And I'm probably joking, but it's I do think there needs to be funding there for people to do this, because people are already just absolutely destroyed when it comes to finance. It's just trying to get the house. I think that's if they can get a house. For the scenario that you were in, we'll call it a doer-upper. So you were going to do it before you moved into it. I think the mortgage is the one, the green mortgage, where your interest rate drops the higher your BER rating is. And if you have a mortgage over 25 or 30 years or whatever it's gone to now, it's a long time since I signed up for one, but 30 years at a lower percentage rate would be huge savings in terms of if you can tie it all in. I suppose the problem is getting the money in the first place, or being approved for a certain amount. That's it, yeah. So we got lucky because the interest rates are low. Then it's coming up next year, but it's we just had to get the credit union loan. But that was a much bigger interest. Like I was thinking, we were paying 8% on the loan to get the house done. But the problem there is that you had to get a top-up loan to complete a home energy upgrade. Yeah. Whereas if you could tie that into your mortgage, it would have been a simpler process in terms of whatever. I know you got yours done very cheap, but I'm only joking. He didn't. But I just think that the mortgage solution for a doer-upper is different than someone that's maybe 20 years into the mortgage and they're looking for a loan to just do up the house. Whereas if you're starting from scratch with a doer-upper, the mortgage is going to save you a lot more money in the long run, we'll say. Yeah, and there is that option there for people. You can get what are renovation mortgages. They can be notoriously difficult to get. Yeah. But they are a possibility. But you just need to have costings and all of that. You really need to be extremely organised. But that is an option for people if they're able to do it. most lenders will kind of offer.
No
something
problem
like
getting
that.
costings.
No problem getting. But then they release. It's kind of like doing a self build. You know, they release it in stages. But it's definitely possible. It wasn't possible for us.
Yeah.
We were told we were going to be able to do that, and we were going to be able to get extra money to do the house up. And then when it came to draw down, they were like, no, we're just giving you the price of the house because the survey said it's habitable and all that. So then I was scrambling then and had to try and come up with more money then to get the work done. So look, it all worked out in the end, but other people maybe mightn't be in that position. I used to, because I'm a teacher, the teacher credit union quite good actually. To be honest, probably a bit too good. They were like the money in the next day. I was like, I need a new car as well. But no, I would not advise that.
No, look, I think what you're describing is the perfect conundrum that every home purchaser goes through. They're saying, is this the right time to buy? If I buy now, is it going to come down in price? Most likely not. If I buy and then I retrofit, should I wait? Is that price going to come down? And again, the answer is most likely no. Some people may be saying, should I hold on and see do the grants go up? And that's a real bit of jeopardy there. Like, is that going to happen or not? You know, it's a tough one. And look, for me, if you built your house, let's call it 3 years ago now, or you're well in the throes of it 3 years ago, like the cost of construction has gone up nearly 35% since then. Like, that sounds mental, but that is the truth. Like, it's gone bonkers.
At least. And I don't know, you'll know why. Why is that? Like, where is it come from? Because is it kind of like the supply and demand? We just not have enough supply of people that are able to do this work, and are they able to charge more because they know, you know, someone else will pay it if this person doesn't?
I think there's a huge amount of factors involved, but I think that's definitely one of them. Look, being totally honest with you, supply and demand, it will drive every market in the world ever. Doesn't matter if you're selling coconuts or you're selling houses or selling a construction product. So I think that's definitely one part of it. And we have the perfect storm in Ireland, where we've got a housing crisis, we've got a homeless crisis, we've got a huge population that is growing, that want to move out of parents' homes, and we don't have enough houses. So therefore, every time a house goes for sale, there's a huge demand for it. We also are at nearly 0% unemployment, where we're doing well as a country. We've got a huge amount of, you know, pharma and all that type of stuff going on in our country. So at this moment in time, we have people that want the product, and there is a few quid in their pockets, and therefore you're not going to get a market dropping in that situation, unfortunately. Does that mean that the builder gets more money? No, it doesn't. The cost of construction to buy the materials at the moment is crazy. The cost of diesel, the cost of insurance, cost of wages, all of those things have risen, and like literally everything has risen at the same time. So it's not an easy answer, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, is the truth of it. And that is why you're here. So here is the big question, Ciarán. So genuinely, in your opinion, if you had the magic wand, if you had the power that Donald Trump thinks he has, if you had honestly a platform where you could say, right, this is what we're going to change, what changes genuinely do you think could be made? Is it increase the grant amounts? Is it, you know, massively drop the interest rates? What do you think genuinely should be done at a government level to help people that are watching us here today?
Help them in what way, in terms of affording to do a retrofit? Yeah,
to try and balance the market. Like, is there anything that you can see out there that's a bit obvious that needs to be done that could help, or even a short term win that is blatantly obvious that isn't being done, or maybe it's not blatantly obvious, maybe it's a bit of a longer term plan? Is there anything that you've seen and your feedback that you're getting, and like, is there anything that you would say, why isn't this happening?
I don't know enough about what's driving the costs of the construction stuff. I don't know enough about that, to be honest, to have an educated opinion on it. But in terms of what I think could be done, is what we find is when interest rates drop, prices go up higher.
Yeah.
So I do think a low interest green loan is a good idea. If it's, say, benchmark just for owner occupiers, I think that's a good way of doing it. I think, as I've said a few times, tackling the vacant and derelict homes, I think, is the low-hanging fruit that we should be looking at. But I also think that we tend to, at policy level, just throw money at things, and there's a lot of carrots, And I think what that's doing is it's also adding to speculation. It's adding to hoarding. I think we need to start using more of a stick approach and start putting massive taxes on the vacant and derelict homes like they do in other countries.
Totally with you.
Like in other European countries, say you get charged 17% tax of the value of the home the first year that it's left vacant. That doubles then the next year. If you start throwing that I think even flying a kite about that kind of tax that might be coming in the next budget would bring an influx of empty homes onto the market. There's 160,000 of them. We can't just keep ignoring
160,000 empty homes
around, and that's not including what's derelict. Yeah. They're just vacant. And people might be listening saying, you know, of a holiday home down the country, that's grand. It's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with homes that are tied up in the fair deal scheme. It's nothing to do with those. It's the ones that are just sitting empty. Now, a large percentage of those might not be in areas where people want to live. They might be on a bit of land somewhere. They're miles away from anything. That's grand. But something has to be done. And if I'm wealthy enough to sit on something that's worth 500 grand along the canal, there's loads of empty houses along the canal. Yeah. If I'm wealthy enough to sit on one of them, I don't think that's right. And I think when we've got 5,000 children eating their dinner off the street, you know, that are homeless, living in hotels, I just don't think I think there's a moral obligation there to say, right, that's enough. We're going to start taxing you massively and bring in a 20% tax on the value. So if that person's then paying 10 grand or a year, then, or 100 grand a year, whatever it is in tax, they're just going to get rid of it straight away. Yeah. And if we get 50,000 of those 160 come onto the market and then supply goes up so quickly, what's going to happen?
The market's going to balance a bit.
Price is going to come down. Yeah. And then even if that means there's builders buying them or investors buying them and doing them up and then flipping them, whatever, grand, doesn't matter. If that's now become somewhere where someone can live, that's better than it's sitting there with buddleia grown through the roof and all the rest, you know. It's just because I'm in the city centre, I just think it should be a crime to see that level of vacancy and dereliction around the place.
And it's in towns down the country. You see it all the time where what may have been a vibrant town, and then industry moves on and motorway comes and the town, you know, isn't as busy as it used to be. And next minute these beautiful buildings become derelict and they're left sitting there simply, and I agree with you, they shouldn't be allowed to sit there. And yet we're then trying to build these high-rise that I don't feel are giving people as good a quality of life. So I think I agree with what Lloyd said. Any more questions? We're running out of time here.
I was just going to say, actually, there was a big push in Kilkenny years ago where I'm from. We're not quite at the house prices here in Dublin, but we're getting there. But there was a big push years ago about rejuvenating laneway dwellings. People all moved out of the laneways 50 years ago because it was seen as some kind of a lower standard of living. And it's funny to see that those houses and apartments that are being brought back to life there. Now everyone wants to live in there because they're in the middle of town.
Exactly.
And it's amazing. Like, and it lifts the town as well. Obviously, the more people in the town, the better the economy in the town. There's all kinds of knock-on effects.
But that's it. And like in other countries, you know, there's like remote towns in Italy where you can buy the house for €1. Yeah. But you need to show that you have the money in your bank to do it up. Yeah. And it's to try and just rejuvenate life into old kind of ghost towns. Like, that won't happen here unless people are being punished for sitting on those and hoarding them. Or maybe they're just, no one knows who owns them, whatever. Yeah. CPO them then. Like, exactly. You know, just get it done. Instead of just saying you're going to do all these things that they've been saying for years and years and years, and things are only getting worse. So I just, knowing that we're already at capacity with water, we're already at capacity with electricity, it's the obvious solution, I think. It's just maybe not palatable for some people that are sitting on a lot of land or a lot of. I also think there should be a site tax rather than a property tax. But anyway, it's another argument. But it's I just think that's the easiest route to go down, where you're kind of getting the best of both worlds. You're bringing life back into old buildings that are already there, and it's going to flood the market with a massive amount of supply, which will give people more options. And if it's up for 300 grand of people and then next door is up for 200 grand, well, what's going to happen? That 300, that's going to have to come down. So the prices will come down because if they're paying 10, 20 grand a year tax, they're going to drop the price until it sells. it's just the way it goes. So that's what I would do if I was in charge.
So there's the solution. Listen to him. Ciarán, it's been excellent. Have to say. So would you like to let us know what's happening next with crazy house prices? I know there's a devious plan in there somewhere to take over the world. So tell us.
Not at all. No, I just keep doing what I'm doing and helping people and getting back to people in DMs. That's where all the time is. To be honest, it's in my DMs, getting back to people and trying to just create some stuff to help people along the process and trying to make things a bit more understandable, a bit easier for them. I think I've noticed over the last few years, people are a bit more clued in now than when I started the page. They kind of know what's going on, whether there's, information's more easy accessible and more podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good time for learning. And as a teacher, I'm always big on that.
Brilliant stuff. And you are on Instagram. Where else are you?
Instagram's where I spend most of my time. Yeah, I think I've an account on everything, but
he hasn't taken over TikTok yet.
No, I can't. I have it on there. I have an account, but I don't engage. I don't look at it. I throw stuff up, and then every few days I'll open the app and something has 300,000 views, and I'm like, I can't, because I know what the comments are like on that platform compared to Instagram.
Quite toxic,
It's like 12-year-olds on their summer holidays. No, I stick to Instagram. That's more my vibe.
Excellent stuff. Look, well, thanks very much, Ciarán Mulqueen from Crazy House Prices. Excellent discussion. I think we hit a lot of nails on the head there, and again, it was great to get your honest opinion as a person who's done a retrofit, bought an old house and done it up, and as a man who knows his P's and Q's when it comes to the houses. Thank you very much for coming on board. So tune in to our next episode coming up soon, and as always, please reach out to us on all our platforms that we're on. We're on Instagram, we are on TikTok, we're on all the different things. Ferg will get back to you.
Are we on TikTok?
If they're negative, Ferg will get back to you. If they're positive, of course, I'll give you a shout. Only joking, we'll always come back to you. So any questions, anything that you'd like us maybe to pass on to Ciarán, don't be afraid to say it, and tune in to the next episode of Behind the Walls with Pete and Ferg.